Hello, my ladies and pretty gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode, a new season of Look What's Happening in the Spirit Realm with yours truly, Light. Happy New Year, everyone. It feels different. This year feels very different. I'm not going to jinx it, but this year feels different. I'm getting a spirit message today. And this is not going to sit well with certain people, especially if you're still going through the grieving process of bargaining and trying to understand or trying to take accountability or responsibility for things, maybe subtly, that you were never supposed to be accountable for. And we're going to break this apart into a couple of messages here, but one of the first things I'm hearing today is someone has put themselves on the map, or they've put themselves on the line in some kind of way. Now, this could be you, or this could be someone around you that is now feeling this push to come forward. They're feeling this push to, take action. And this could be a part of the new year, new me kind of urgency. But what is actually happening, it's more subtle and it's more karmic, and it's because of what you've been doing internally. The collective I'm picking up on, this is a very enlightened collective. And I mentioned this very briefly in my other videos about having reached some kind of inaugurative state that's more ancestral or spirit based through the fire. This is the collective I'm talking about. You've been initiated into a deeper understanding of the hidden, of the light. And it's going to come with a lot of benefits in this season. One of them is forgiveness. And this is how Spirit framed it to me yesterday, and it was really illuminating because I've never heard of it being spoken in that way. We always hear forgiveness as an external thing, something that we have to apply in order to receive something external, or something that we have to embody even though we haven't yet come to terms with how much pain we've endured. And when there's been a lot of injustice in a person's life, it usually colors their perspective. It makes them feel like there's somebody in lime green, by the way, just watching out in the balcony. That's what I'm looking up into. It makes them ask questions very subtly, and it holds them accountable to fate, and it's a very subconscious thing that happens. But this is the reason why a lot of you perhaps associated your attackers as enemies, that you've associated your prosecutors, let's change the word here, as enemies, and you were bound almost to their actions and whatever they were going to do next. You were bound to how you were supposed to handle that, as opposed to realizing and seeing that you were never responsible for any kind of action that they were taking. And the reason why it resonated in that way for your field is because you are innocent. The person I'm talking to is innocent. If you're guilty of something, right, this isn't for you. If you're guilty of something and you're holding back because you're afraid, this is not a message for you. This is a message for somebody who has been so buried underneath so much propaganda and nonsense, especially because they did the right thing. That kind of projection distorts your field in a way where you subconsciously question yourself. You ask yourself, maybe if I did this, if I never met this person, maybe if I did this at that point, maybe if I changed my direction here, maybe if I did, you ask all these questions, and they're very subtle. And the more you ask these questions, it gets reinforced. Your reality gets reinforced, and you become bound to the actions that your prosecutors are taking against you. And you get more and more angry because it's like there's a lot of things out of your control because you're not understanding the fact that you're trying to take accountability for fate. And you're not supposed to do that. And that's their mission. Your prosecutors, their mission is to make you take accountability for something so obscure, so ambiguous, so out of your control as fate, the fate of multiple people, as if you are the arbitrator of that reality. That's the kind of responsibility they want to put on your shoulders. And whoever you are, the eyes of mercy, forgiveness, when Yeshua said, they know not what they do, none of that was performative. None of that was him trying to overcome the pain that they were putting him through in order for him to still remain in God's graces. No, he was in God's grace when he said that. He was in God's grace and completely in God's grace in the most extreme scenario of prosecution when he said that, because he meant it. He meant it. And the person I'm tapping into, the people, the collective I'm tapping into, I'm getting this is like a large movement, are people who have embodied this mercy even over, it's not mercy as in forgiving actions that were done against you, but it's seeing the truth of those actions. And forgiveness becomes the result of that. It's not forced. You have quite literally initiated yourself one of the most difficult initiation processes that is usually pushed onto chosen ones. As much as that statement makes people uncomfortable, I'm going to use that word because it's an applicable word, even though it's become some kind of popular term. It's an initiation that's forced upon you, that no occultist that is trying to self-initiate can ever attain this level of enlightenment because they're performing it. And this is the stage right here where you're in the conjuncture to meet some kind of energy. And if you're a masculine, it's going to be a feminine energy, male or female, because you've embodied that within yourself. If you're a feminine, it's going to be a masculine energy. And male or female, again, because you've embodied that energy. What I'm seeing is some kind of like archetypal figure of safety and purpose. And this is somebody that, for some of you, you've met before. 144 could be significant. It's somebody that you've met before, or somebody that you know. And when I say you know, a lot of things were made very clear to me last night. When we talk about a past life, we're talking about a circle. We're talking about recognizing someone today and realizing that at some point in this life, we've known them, because time does not exist. We get to tap into the future as much as the future gets to tap into the past. That's what we're recognizing, and we're not seeing a past life as in like you're going to die and like come back and then die and come back. I don't believe in that. I've always told you guys, I don't believe in the linear path of like you're going to die and come back. No, I believe in time being, just like Einstein said, a loaf of bread, and everything has happened and it's done. So this really does bring that topic back of me saying what your attackers were trying to do to you, your prosecutors, was trying to hold you accountable to fate, knowing that that was going to be the result of attacking somebody innocent. Because you can't make sense of being punished for something that you didn't do. Does that make sense? So at this point, you're coming across somebody who represents the figure that was initially tied down, or they were looped away by a karmic energy. That's what I'm getting, right? As you were dealing with internal karma, whoever this person is coming into your life, they were dealing with external karma. Because for you, your initiation process could have looked like something very ambiguous. It could have looked like people throwing stones and hiding their hands. But for this person, they were inundated. They were surrounded by, they didn't isolate like you did, right? And if you're the person who is resonating as the person who is the other side of the topic, the person who's coming in, the person who I mentioned in the beginning, that's having the desire to step forward, then male or female, you're standing in the masculine energy. The person who's initiating, the one that I spoke about as the chosen one, is the feminine energy. Male or female. Because, the feminine leads, spiritually speaking. Moving forward from that, whoever this is somebody who, the masculine, so to speak, is somebody who has been inundated by external forces that they can see, but they couldn't decipher. They couldn't intuitively say, this is not the person for me. They were lured in, for a lot of you, by lust. They were lured in by the false version of the Venus goddess in some way. The very fallen version of the Venus goddess that they were able to, these occultish people, whatever you want to call them at this point, that they were able to maneuver, or they were able to duplicate, almost like trick the masculine out of their inheritance, out of their garden, so to speak, out of the sentient garden of where they're supposed to be, who they're supposed to be. They were able to lure them out using a succubus kind of spirit, a Jezebel spirit, male or female, it doesn't matter. And this is the point where this is a person who is returning to their sanity. They're returning to their understanding, and for a lot of you, you've never met this person. They're returning to their understanding of who they actually are. And what's interesting here is that there's no resistance left. Whoever you are, whenever you're getting this message, you're going to be getting it, and I hope Spirit gives you this message at this time, when there's no more resistance left between you and this person. There's no more resistance left because you've done pretty much all the work. Pretty much all the work. And at this stage, what you're going to experience is the settling. It's going to start settling. This forgiveness is going to start settling because you've taken all the power away from your enemies, your prosecutors, right? The whole statement of Yeshua saying, forgive them, for they do not know what. That was his ultimate power coming back from source to him, through him, the great I am. That was the pivotal awakening moment. And that's what I'm picking up on in the collective. As soon as the clock struck 12 a.m. yesterday, wherever time you were, that's what happened. That's why a lot of you faced a lot of trauma the last year, especially towards the end of the month, starting from July all the way through. Attack after attack, prosecution after prosecution. If you went through that, that's the reason why. These energies, it was almost like they were trying to seemingly stop you, but actually they were initiating you because you are chosen by the divine. There's nobody and nothing that can take that position. You have to understand that, and that's what you're seeing. If you can understand between my words right now, if you can, those who have ears to hear, if you can hear my words between my words, this message is for you. If you cannot, if I am talking gibberish, it's not for you because you haven't reached that point just yet. And it's okay because you will eventually. You will. And there's going to be no more resistance. Whoever this person is, they're actually already with you in the 5D. They're already with you in the 5D. And for some of you, they're here. Like, that's what I'm getting. They're here somewhere. You can almost smell them. You can almost feel them. They're here. And the reason why certain things could have slowed down, there could be like a lot of silence around you, or there could be an absence, right? If you got so used to a bunch of noise, there could be an absence, because as I was talking to you guys last year, this energy was going through the process of deluding themselves, number one, and coming to terms with the illusion that they had accepted in place of the truth. And now there's nothing in the way, there's no veil in the way of them seeing the truth for what it is. So the only thing left is surrender. And what I'm picking up on is the collective, the divine collective being in surrender, in complete surrender. And the kind of magic that's to follow, it's going to be something that you can integrate. It's not going to be something that you're going to need to protect. That's what I'm picking up on. You're not going to need to protect this person, and they're not going to need to protect you, because something greater than you is protecting you both. And not only that, your understanding, your forgiveness of even, I'm getting the word, the compassion of Christ. Your compassion is going to set you free. The compassion you have towards your prosecutors is going to set you free. And that's what's happening. And don't force it if it's not happening yet naturally. Spirit is going to initiate it for you. There's going to be a big aha moment. And through that, I can feel it in my heart right now. Like, I can literally feel it. There's going to be this relinquishment. Like, there's this, something is going to be relinquished or dislodged. And you have to understand this holding pattern, right? It was there for so long because the person that you are meant to be with was holding on to responsibility of other people, physically speaking, right? And you were holding on to responsibility for the mythical things that were happening to you. When in reality, you were never responsible for that. You were never supposed to be responsible for that in particular. And it's happened. That's what I'm picking up on. I hope this message made sense. It happened. The click has happened. The initiation is, at this stage, for this point, for this structure, is complete. And you're going to be receiving something very soon. You're ready. That's what I'm picking up on. You're ready, and you're going to be receiving something very soon because you don't need to receive it. I'm going to leave it here. Until next time, guys, don't reach out. Everything you need to know is in the description box down below. My book, Sad Girl, I highly recommend to check it out. I kind of want to share a piece with you, not from this book, but from a different one. And I mentioned before, everything you need to know, my poetry page as well, is going to be in the description box. My Threads accounts, everything is in the description box down below. Yeah, I hope I gave the message well. I really do. Until next time, guys. Ciao.